Hello and welcome, gang. It's Deltia from DeltiasGaming.com, back with the Omega Healer build. Now for this build I want to do something different. It's meant for PvE 4-player dungeon. As you can see in this video, we're doing Bet Dragonstar Arena. Before you skip ahead, before you get to anything else, I want to give you 5 tips that I've learned for healing in the game Elder Scrolls Online 2.0 and beyond. Number 1, you are the co-captain of the defense. Act like it. Position your group. Learn about the dungeon and or whatever encounter you're going in, because remember, as a healer, you're not only supposed to heal damage, but mitigate and lessen as many as you can. So knowing the fight and positioning your teammates and telling them where to go will lessen your job as a healer. Number 2 is anticipate damage. I see a lot of healers counteracting when damage takes place, doing massive amount of healing. And a lot of times people will die because they didn't anticipate damage. Is there a bunch of red on the ground? Is there tons of mobs spawning? You know they're going to be taking damage. Heal through it and heal early and often. Number 3 is optimize your group members. The more damage or the more things you can offer in terms of resources to group members, the less you're going to have to heal. The more damage they do, the more stuff's dead, the less you have to heal. Which goes to my 4th point, balanced build. You want to have a balanced build, one that can do single target damage, area damage, that can do a big powerful single target heal, and an area heal. The number 1 trick to healing in this game is to not heal. Yes, I said it. The number 1 trick is to do so much damage as a healer and as a group, and you optimize your build and everyone else's so much, you rarely have to heal because everything's dying. Now let me show you what the best way I found to do all these 5 tips in one video. I don't always heal, but when I do, it's on the Templar. Honestly, I think it's hands down the best healer in the game, and it's really due to Breath of Life. Breath of Life is that big burst heal that almost no other class has, and it heals up to 2 nearby allies. I like it so much that I double bar it on this build. And the reason being is I want to have it on both bars so I don't have to bar swap in case of an emergency. So having it on both bars allows me to kind of do optimizing things, buff my party, buff myself, but in case something goes wrong, boom, I know exactly where, when, what button I have to click to make it happen. Breath of Life. It is the true healing ability. Okay, the next thing I double bar is the Mage's Guild Inner Light. Gives you max magic, it makes sense, and it gives you spell critical. You're going to need that. So spell critical, double bar that, and also on 1 bar, my restoration bar, my master staff, I put structured entropy. So this is kind of my buff bar, the very first one we're going over. And structured entropy gives you tons of spell power. The more spell power, the more magic you have, the harder you heal. So I want to keep that up at all times. The duration is 14.4 seconds, so it's going to be, you're going to have to do some bar swapping to get this up at all times. But thankfully you have Breath of Life on both bars, so if something goes wrong, boom, click. The reason I use a restoration staff and the reason I use this bar is a couple things. Siphon Spirit is really good, but you're only going to usually use 1 ability. Siphon Spirit allows you to get magic every time you attack an enemy. So if I'm running with a heavy magic based party that's running out of resources, I'll use this. Otherwise I use Combat Prayer, and it's only at 1 because this isn't my primary healer. But if I do, I use Combat Prayer. Remember, the more damage that you can do or your party can do, the more stuff's going to die. The more stuff dies, the easier it is to heal. So this heals in a radius in front of you, not all around you, but directly in front of you. So as a co-captain of the defense, remember, position your 2 DPS, even your tank, in line with this, so they can get splashed with that DPS dust, is what I call it. So this, as you can see, this bar is just for buffs. And then the other ability that I use is Channel Focus. It gives you spell resistance and armor by 5,000. And so does Combat Prayer. It gives you the minor. So you're looking at almost 6,000 right there. And then the nice thing that it does is it gives you magic recovery every 0.5 seconds. So you're basically getting magic back, a lot of it every second. The cool thing about this rune is it lasts for 18 seconds if you stay in it. But if you leave it, it's still going to last for 8 seconds. So you're constantly having these buffs up. It's going to, 1, produce a lot more damage, produce a lot more healing, and then also give you tons and tons of resources. Makes sense. This is our buff bar. The last ability that I use is Solar Prison. I still like this as an ultimate because it reduces AoE damage, has a powerful synergy, it costs a lot, but it lasts 10 seconds. So if there's a huge AoE damage thing going on and I need to produce damage, but I need to mitigate a lot of damage too, I'll throw this down. And that's pretty much it. To give you kind of a sample of the combat prayer, you've probably seen in other videos, but that DPS dust is only in front of you. So you're going to have to position your group. And I always tell my party, hey, stand by each other's DPS. There we go. 8%. 8%. 8% DPS at 100% uptime is a lot of DPS to you and your party. Try that. Okay. So, I use dual wield. Yes, dual wield. Why? Spell power. Right now, unbuffed, I'm at 2,000 spell power and 24k magic. Now, let's say if I eat my blue food here for magic and health. On my dual bar, I'm still at 2,000 spell damage, 29,000 magic, 31,000 on the restoration staff, and 1,500 spell damage. Dual wield gives you that much more spell power. That much more. How does it work? I have no idea, but it does. It's amazing. Okay, so that's why I use dual wield. Now, the problem with dual wield is you're not going to be able to weave attacks a whole lot, but that's not really a problem with this build because you're going to have ultimate generation going up the wazoo anyways. Inner light, breath of life. We already talked about that. I want to talk about the ultimate that I use real quick, which is a remembrance. Remembrance is a really low cost channeled heal. It's we're going to reduce damage to allies in the area by 23%. What's Nova? 30%. So the nice thing about this is you can pop it if you're out of magic, if you're out of stamina, and you just don't want to be CC'd, and let's say things are stomping through you or whatever, click this sucker. No one's going to die when this thing's on. Almost, unless you're in the red and you're being a crazy man. So Remembrance is a go-to. I also put it on my dual wield bar so it channels and does a lot more healing. So why Delta did you do that? 6815 is the heal right now on the tooltip, right? So if you put it on this back bar where Nova is, 6441. Remember what I said. Spell damage matters. Max magic matters. So if you put it on that bar, you're going to do a lot more healing. Okay, so this is my damage single target bar. I have a powerful ultimate, an oh crap ultimate, if things go bad. I still have Breath of Life, and I still have Inner Light. So I'm going to go bar 1 when I need to keep my buffs up. As things die, I'm going to use Repentance. Repentance gives you souls, health, and stamina to you and nearby enemies. So as a good healer, bad healers do this. Bad healers wait till there's tons of mobs dead around the ground and then use Repentance. Good healers do it once every 2 to 3 corpses. Why? 3,000 health and 3,000 stamina. If there's 3 corpses laying around, that's 9,000 healing without a crit. If you crit, that's almost a heal to full on everyone. Don't wait till the fight's over to use Repentance. Use it early and often. Okay, what build would it be without Radiant Oppression? This is our single target, massive burn, do damage, execute. I highly recommend it. Even as a healer, you still need to do damage. And this thing almost works at 100% anyway, so you might as well just channel it. And that goes into our last point, Blazing Spear. Blazing Spear throws a spear down, does massive AoE damage, stuns an enemy, and has a synergy that gives you back stamina. Wow, very, very powerful. So, single target, I'll use good old Radiant Oppression, Blazing Spear here for AoE. Another thing that I like about it, if you look here, increases the damage bonus for your critical strikes by 10%, just for having the ability slotted. So guess what? Having that ability slotted gives us 10%. Another thing that I like, and why I like Ultimate Regeneration on this character, is Radiant Oppression is a Dawn Wrath ability. Activating Dawn's Wrath ability grants 3 ultimate. It can only occur once every 6 seconds. So as we're nuking enemies, we're gaining ultimate. You want to light attack at basically once every 8 seconds to continue that ultimate regeneration, even on your dual wield bar. Does this make sense so far? So it's actually not that complicated. Really, you have Breath of Life. So whatever your oh crap panic key is, put it at the same place. Because if you don't, you're going to bar swap, you're going to be misclick, and people are going to die. Preemptive heal. So, for instance, why I say preemptive heal, I'm in level VR14, we're just around a bunch of crap here, but I want to show you. You know that if there's this many mobs coming in towards you, people are going to need heal. Don't wait till someone's health dipped below 50% to heal them. Do it early. Because I see a lot of healers, number one, they wait for corpses, and number two, they wait for people to take damage. Look at Breath of Life, 16k, and I'm at 100%. That's how powerful this healing is. Another thing is repentance. Do it when there's 1 or 2 enemies there. Don't wait until there's tons of them, because watch this. Come here, little scutter. Repentance heal, 4,200 non-crit. 4,200 non-crit. That's for 1 corpse. Half my health is 10k. So do the math. 2 to 3 corpses are optimal to do that. Repentance. And this is kind of it. Okay, let's talk about champion points and some key passives that are going to optimize this build even further. I have a whole lot of champion points. Yes, over 360. Now, some of you probably don't have nearly that much. Some of you might have more. But I want to tell you what the most effective place to put your champion points is, whether you have 1 or a million. So I use the Atronach Mundus Stone because it affects regeneration. And I like to split my champion points between reduced spell cost and then also regeneration. The key of being a healer is if you run out of magic, you're probably going to die, and so is everyone else. So combine the two here. Reduced cost is great, also magic recovery. I'm not going to do a whole lot of PvP combat healing, so stamina recovery is not that important. And usually in my PvP builds, I put some in the tumbling. But if you're going pure healer, mix it up. Here, Magician, and here, Arcanist. Okay, the blue here. Yes, I have 100 points in the Blessed. So my heals heal like a truck, right? Elemental Expert, I don't need that a whole lot. Spell Erosion, I'm not doing a whole lot of spell resistance, so if you wanted a pure healer, pump up Blessed. Also pump up Elfborn, because the more spell critical damage you have and healing. So your heals are going to heal 8.4% harder on a crit. So really you want to put these two up. Now if you want to have a balanced build, which most of you probably do, you want to have 30 points into here to get the spell critical rating. So you're probably going to want some spell erosion if you're doing something else besides healing. And then you are going to want some Thermagurge, or whatever it's called, if you're going to do some damage with magic. But the 2 places you want to focus on is Blessed and Elfborn. Just makes sense. It increases the effectiveness in any healing you initiate. Yes, please. Moving on to the red. You could go Spell Shield for fire resistance, because I am a vampire and it doesn't bother me that much. And the reason why, I have 100 points into Elemental Defender. Yes, Champion System gives me a huge advantage. I know, I've already made a video about it. But the point is, put points into here if you go Vampire route. If you are just starting out, Vampire probably isn't the best thing for you because you're not going to have 100 points into this. Hardy, Poison, Disease, Magic. Those things make sense to me. I don't need a whole lot of armor, and I don't need a lot of damage protection. Another thing is, increases the effectiveness of damage absorbing effects. Haven't found that useful on a Templar, and increases the effectiveness of healing received. I'm not tanking, so I don't really need this either. So it seems like the natural thing to do, dump tons into here, because Unchained is actually really useful. Reduces the stamina cost of 80% after getting knocked down, feared, stunned. So if I do get knocked down and feared, I can do a quick dodge roll at 80% cost reduction, get out of the area, and I'm good to go. That right there is a champion point. Let's talk about gear. The gear is not exactly easy to get, but it's very effective. Number one, we have the healer set. I run a 5-piece, including the sash and the legs. You're probably going to want to go for the best in slot, legs and chest, but I like the legs and sash just because of the looks. Yes, I know, I'm vain. With this, it gives me more increased healing, spell damage, magic, and magic recovery. Fantastic. VR14 versions can be found in Vet Dragonstar Arena, and the other versions can be found in normal Dragonstar Arena. That includes the jewelry. I do use spell damage, and I only have VR13 jewelry. I sell my 14s, because who knows if 16s are coming out soon. But I do 1 reduced cost and the rest spell damage. Why spell damage? The more spell damage, the more magic, the more you heal for. So it makes sense. I have a hard time running out of magic at the way it is, but if you do have a hard time running out of magic, you might want to go with more reduced spell cost. And then the next set is the Worm Cult. Reduces magic cost for up to 12 group members. The amount of utility that this adds is absolutely phenomenal, and it does have a spell damage bonus as well. The 4-piece added healing taking is not that phenomenal, but everyone needs magic to do something. And having this for a magic-based group DPS even in a trial, is fantastic. Even as a tank, if they're going to cast self-heals, it adds so much to the group. I do have a Master Restoration staff. It's infused. The reason I like infused or precise trait is it gives you more max magic. More max magic, and with my inner light on, I'm sitting at 33,000. 33,000, yes, that's it with the Atronach Mundus Stone. So if I did the Mage's Mundus Stone, which is a good alternative, you're looking at even more. And then I go Torix Pack Nirnhone trait on the swords, and I do flame and disease damage because I do use these in PvP. And that combined with the passives are how I get so much damage. So that's the gear. Worm Cult, you get in dungeons. This you get in Dragonstar Arena. Torix Pack is crafted. This is Dragonstar Arena. So a lot of the Dragonstar Arena stuff that you're getting, you're going to be using right as this build. Okay, last thing I want to talk about is important passives. You can find all the passives I use for this build, all the skills on my website. It's hyperlinked, so feel free to go there. Each little area has important skills. Piercing Spear, we already talked about that. Damage for your critical strike bonus. Amazing, amazing, amazing. The Spear also, where's the one that gives you the passive? Okay, I lied. That's not the important one. Activating Dawn Wrath ability gives you 3 ultimate. Obviously important. We talked about that. Here we go. Activating Dawn Wrath ability gives you increased 5% spell damage for you and your allies for 20 seconds. 5%. That's the minor buff. Combine that with the our major buff, Structured Entropy. You're sitting at 25% more spell damage. Yes, please. 25%. That's incredible. So get those passives. Restoring Light, almost all of these are incredibly powerful. Increases the healing effect from Restoring Light abilities up to 10% in proportion to the severity of the wounds. All that means is the lower the health there are, the harder you heal for. And then a couple of them increase the healing effect. Now, Cleansing Ritual, put it in there and you heal for 30% stronger. A lot of people say that. But I'm on the move constantly, and I don't know if this works quite well, to be honest with you. And we also move over and over and over. So putting Purifying Ritual on your bar is a good choice, but I haven't found it that useful. Increasing Resurrection Speed is amazing. You gotta have this sucker. And then also in the dual wield, I do take them all just because I do PvP and a bunch of other stuff. But it seems like the sword increased damage of your weapon attacks. That seems to apply to all of the spells too. I don't know if that works or 100% right, but I take the passive just to make sure. Restoration Staff, you're going to want all of them, right? I mean, this is probably a no-brainer. But the one I really like is restoring an additional 30% magic when you complete a heavy attack. So if you are out of magic, rip off a full heavy to get something back. Honestly, you can rip off a heavy and do another Breath of Life. So if you are out of magic for some weird reason because you are spamming and people are standing in red, rip off a heavy. Light Armor, if you're starting out this build, you got to get Evocation Recovery. Put the points into there right away. I mean, even before you get a second bar, I would dump points into here. Because the more you can cast, the less it costs, the better off you're going to be. Mage's Guild. These are pretty obvious as well. The one that really matters here is increasing your max magic and recovery for each Mage Guild slotted. Since we do have Inner Light on both of our bars, and we do have Structured Entropy as well on this back bar, it's going to give us an extra boost. Might of the Guild, that's a no-brainer as well because it increases, gives you that empowering after using a Mage's Guild ability. I do like Undaunted Command and Undaunted Metal. So even having 2 points into this sucker without only having just one light armor type, still gives you 2% bonus overall. Incredible. Undaunted Command, this gives you something back every time you use a synergy. So even if I'm completely out and there's no repentances, there's no bodies, if I use a synergy, I'm looking at 1300 magic, 1 synergy, heavy attack, boom, 2 Breath of Life. Life's good. Okay, I am a Dark Elf. I do not recommend Dark Elf. I recommend Breton. Delta, what race you take? Breton. Breton. This isn't the worst thing in the world because it does give me max magicka by 9%. And I do have reduced flame damage by 2,000. So it's not the worst. High Elf is another really good choice, especially if you want to do some damage as well. But if you have the optimal healer in the game, it's a Breton Templar. Last but certainly not least is medicinal use. Let's say you didn't want to use entropy on your bar and you wanted to maybe put Purifying Ritual down. Go ahead and go with Spell Power Potions and drop that entropy. These ones are the best. Gives you Major Sorcery, Major Prophecy, and so you could even drop Inner Light, but it adds so much magic. I don't see doing that. Okay, so now that is kind of the skills and gear and all that fun fluffy stuff, and I'm going to show you an earlier video from my stream of when I healed and kind of narrate it so you can get in the mind of a healer doing Bet Dragonstar Arena. Let's go. Alright, this is Veteran Dragonstar Arena, Wave 8. I had to turn the music off. This is from my stream because I don't have copyright, blah, 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 blah. This is actually a good place to show you kind of how I heal and talk to you about it, because there's a lot of damage. It's undead, there's a lot of mobs, and I want to see you guys, you know, the reaction to exactly how it is I heal. And you notice, I'm not doing a whole lot of healing. In fact, I'm rarely healing. All I'm doing is basically Jesus beaming the low-end enemies and using repentance 2 or 3 mobs at a time. I'm also trying to keep my distance in between the tank and the DPS, so that way I'm not out of heal range. As soon as I see them take a bunch of damage, I do a couple of Breath of Lives and go back into Jesus Beam spamming. Why? Remember that Dawn Wrath passive. It's going to build you ultimate, and it's also going to give you and your nearby allies that spell damage you want. So I want to try to hit that every, 10 seconds if possible and finish off those low-end enemies. Even if a mob's at 100%, I know that if I go into a Radiant Oppression spam, they will die instantly. So that's all I'm doing. I'm trying to line them up, you see right there, for a combat prayer as the mobs spawn. And combat prayer. Bar swap, after I put down my channel focused, get my magicka back, I'm at full magicka, and I do a spear spam. Now the trick with spear spamming is don't do it when the mobs are out on their own. That way the tank will not be able to pull. You want to wait till they get in a centralized location, then throw it. Right, so right there what happened is our DPS was standing in the wrong position and got sucked down in the red little circle area. So right now we're down a DPS. I know that I'm going to have to step up my game. So I bar swap, combat prayer, and then do some spear spam. I'm going to do a preemptive heal because look, there's 5 or 6 mobs. I know there's going to be crap coming. So I just preemptive heal. I do a spear, heal, spear, heal. Looks like my magic's getting low. So guess what I'm going to do? Charge up a full heavy and use a potion. Then I use repentance as my magic's low to get 2 or 3 corpses, give everyone back to full health. Throw down channel focus, quick bar swap, guess what? Another repentance, and then another. Remember, use it every 2 or 3 bodies, especially if you're out of magic like me. Next wave coming up. So I don't use combat prayer right away because you want, remember, for the buff to apply. So I throw a spear down, do a combat prayer, channel focus, and then guess what? Another spear. Couple more spears for the AoE damage, 2 corpses, repentance, you guessed it. Couple more spear spams here, and I should be using that, Radiant Oppression or Jesus Beam. Why? Spell damage, spell damage, spell damage, and ultimate. So I have about 600 ultimate, but I'm going to save it here for these 2 hard bosses to kill, which that guy's on a timer, and so you want to do a lot of damage. The next one's on a low timer as well, so you have to do a lot of damage up front. Right there, I almost die, but I do a repentance because I know there's 2 or 3 bodies around, no problem. I also doing a lot of block casting, that way I can mitigate some of that heavy damage. Okay, so this guy spawns here, second round. You have to do a lot of damage or you burn a lot of time going underneath and doing this other mechanic. So combat prayer is going to be essential to optimize my group's DPS. So I'm going to do a spear spam. The guy's going to spam right away. And notice when the portal lights up, I drop my Nova. They take damage as soon as the portal lights up. And I go into 100% Jesus Beam spam. Reason being is it's going to start the execute, but their health is going to drop so fast due to that AoE damage starting off that I know it's going to be in that execute range really quick. So, I mean, you kind of get the idea of what I'm doing here. I'm just using repentance, throwing spears, keeping my buffs up, and I'm not healing a whole lot. You don't have to heal a whole lot if stuff's dying and you have corpses left and right. That's the trick with Dragonstar Arena. And the trick with healing, I think, is just do so much damage. Having Breath of Life on both bars is so optimal for me because I can do my normal spear spam, and if things go wrong, it's on that bar. I highly recommend it. People die a lot more if I don't have it on both bars. Alright, shut up Deltia boss round here. So I'm going to do some spear spams and Radiant. Get that ultimate generating. Boom, deady dead, 2 corpses, you guessed it, repentance. This boss does a little bat spawn. Even though it's an execute, I'm still going to do that Radiant Destruction. Why? Ultimate. So right there, I switch back to my bars, throw down all of my buffs and doing some Radiant Destructions. So now 2 bosses are going to spawn, and the person below has to kill these 2 little dudes, or 3 dudes, I forget which, but they have to kill them before we can do damage. So essentially what I'm doing here is making sure I have an ultimate up. So I'm using Radiant, I'm casting heals, and I'm doing some light attacks and heavy attacks. I do have an Inferno Staff on because I forgot my daggers, or my swords, so don't worry, it is more optimal to use the swords. As soon as he kills the stuff, I'm going to go into a Spear Spam, Nova Bomb. And bang, here we go. Combat Prayer, increase everyone's damage. Spear Spam my face off, and I'm holding block in case there's a charge. And I'm a preemptive heal. 2 or 3 Breath of Lives, couple spears, Radiant Destruction because no one's taking damage, and then a good old Repentance for the stamina users in the house. And that's it. So that's how I did that round. I hope that gives you a good insight into exactly what it is I'm doing. Thanks for watching, and you can see all these builds in action on twitch.tv/DeltiusGaming. Feel free to follow, and a lot more builds to come.